you have to understand what you're doing it for, have a purpose, let it be a passion behind it, because I'm explaining going viral and how amazing it is, but you also have to take into consideration that there's a lot of videos that didn't go viral. Step one is you have to do it because you genuinely love it. Prepare yourself for the negative feedback and the criticism, because just because you love doing something doesn't mean it's gonna always be received well.
Welcome to another episode of the B-Roll Show. Today's guest is a really good friend of mine. I've been knowing this girl since college. She's been blowing up all over social media, healing the community one video at a time by showing the world how to create a positive mindset. Show some love to my homegirl, Reya. Ah, my God.
Thank you.
Of all the things to become, why a content creator?
Great question. When I started this, I didn't really start it with the intentions of becoming a content creator. I was just creating content because it was something for me to do. I was very, very bored at home. I didn't have anything to do. And I just needed something to do for entertainment. So I just started making videos on TikTok. TikTok for me was a relatively new space. I had already been like posting pictures and whatnot on Instagram, but I just started posting on TikTok because it was a new app for me. I started to like the vibe of it all too. It was very like natural and organic content on there.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to see if I could do it, and I did. And then it kind of just over time evolved into
What
me
it is
becoming a
now.
content creator. Exactly.
Okay. Was it anybody or anything that inspired you to become a content creator?
No, I don't really have any like influences from the social media space that inspired me to become a content creator. It was more so just figuring out like how I wanted to show up on there myself and what I
Yeah.
wanted to do. But no, there aren't any inspirations that I pulled from.
Can you walk me through your typical creative process from idea to execution?
Yes, and so there's two ways to answer that. The first is from idea to execution. When I first started by making 35 videos a week, 5 videos a day, 7 days a week, 35 videos a week. That was I would be on TikTok all day, every day, looking at the trends. What's trending? What's trending? How can I take this trend and make it my own? How can I hop on the trend early? And you can kind of see when a trend is popping off because, well, on TikTok specifically, you can click on the sound. It'll show you how many videos are being used by people. I mean, how many videos have used that sound. And if it's a low amount, then you know that, okay, if I post my video now, it'll probably pick up traction. So I kind of just created a formula to figure out how to like pop on TikTok, and
Yeah.
it worked. But that was my process back then. It's just studying the app, studying the trends. But now there is no thought process behind like it really is, because my content is so true to who I am already and the types of conversations I'm having anyways on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
It's really just as simple as me turning the camera on and sitting down and then talking about whatever is on my mind or whatever I just talked about to someone else.
Yeah.
That's my process now.
How do you get over creative roadblocks?
How do I get over creative roadblocks? Oh my gosh. I just don't do it. Like when I'm feeling like I'm in a space creatively where I just don't know what content to post next or what to do next, I simply just don't create the content because I move now only on inspired action. Like I only move when there is a full like thought process. Like, okay, I just explained to you my process now is turning the camera on, right? That's an inspired action because I'm leading off of a conversation or a train of thought that I'm having. And I'm so fired up about it that now I'm about to make this content. But that doesn't happen all the time. There could be periods of times where I simply just, I'm not thinking about anything. I'm not talking about anything. So there's nothing for me to create. So I simply just don't move because I'd much rather create content when I'm feeling inspired to do it and it's something authentic and it resonates versus trying to create content just to stay consistent and it be some bullcrap, you know?
Yeah. What was a significant learning experience for you?
Ew, oh my God. Okay, a significant learning experience for me would probably be, what was a significant learning experience from the beginning till now?
Any part of your career?
Okay.
Beginning, middle, end. I mean, not end, but like in the middle of it.
I'll say the significant learning experience is to remain true to me, stay authentic with everything that I do, regardless of any external opinions
Mm,
or anybody telling me what they think I should do. Staying true to me is probably the biggest lesson that I've learned so far because I've tried in the beginning to do things how everyone else was doing it, hence the me hopping on the trends and et cetera, et cetera. But I learned that the more that I am authentic with myself and who I am, and the more that I show the real me,
yeah,
that is the thing that resonates most with people, not me just being gimmicky and
yeah, yeah.
following a trend.
How do you handle feedback, negative feedback, or criticism from your videos, if any?
There's definitely it's there. But it's not as much, prayerfully. It's not as much negative criticism. And how do I handle it? I simply don't anymore. In the beginning, I used to take everything to heart. I wasn't used to people being mean to me or
Yeah,
saying they didn't like me. Like I've always been like a very nice, high energy person. So typically when people meet me or they come across me, it's always received well.
yeah,
So in the beginning, I took everything to heart. I was super sensitive. But over time, like right now, I just simply don't give it any attention. I don't feed the beast of it all because I
yeah,
understand like that when I make content, I'm making it from my perspective. And when someone is commenting on it or giving their opinion on it, they're giving it from their perspective. And their perspective doesn't have to agree with mine.
yeah,
And sometimes what I've come to realize is a lot of time when people are saying negative things, it's typically because they just want attention and they don't think that you're going to respond. Like there have been so many times where somebody says something negative to me and I'm like, and I'm clapping back, I'm snapping back on them. And they're just like, oh, ha ha ha, I'm just kidding. I just want to see if you would say something. And I'm just like, babe, what? But yeah, it's really, I realize now that it's solely just for attention. And also, I had to realize when it comes to negative comments that it is honestly, I just feel bad for him. And this is the reason why, because I'm naturally a happy person and I can fully say that I'm happy. And I can't imagine me being as happy as I am getting on the internet and commenting something negative on someone else's post. Even
yeah.
if I don't agree, it's just like, oh, okay, I don't agree. Keep it moving.
Yeah, it's just honestly, it's no point. At this point in my life, I go in the comment section to see all the stupid shit that people just say, but I never comment. I just read it because it's always gonna be there.
Yeah.
And it's just I don't know what's going on with the world, but everybody's so damn opinionated, and most of the opinions are negative. I don't know if the world is just in a negative space or not, but I just try not to like get involved in dumbass arguments with strangers I'm never gonna meet. It's all that shit is pointless, and it's like it's a thing that's gonna like take you from positive to negative. So it's no point to even like you can have hardcore facts and
Literally.
back up everything you saying. People don't give a fuck.
They don't.
They don't care.
Mm-mm.
They think whatever they want to think, and if
Mhm.
it's negative, that's what it's gonna be. So it's not even a point to even get into it with them.
Exactly.
So, how do you keep your skills sharp in a world where content keeps evolving?
Great question. So, how do I keep my skills sharp? I think because, well, I'm fortunate enough to now have a brain that's like very lifestyle content, very true to me.
Yeah,
So I don't necessarily have to reposition my content to fit what's trending or what's popular right now because that's not who I am.
mm,
And how do I keep my skills sharp? Again, something as simple as me just being me. So thankfully, I've made my content now into a space where I don't have to freshen up, or if anything, I could probably practice more on like, I don't know, public speaking or something like to, but ultimately it's really just me in conversation with my camera half the
yeah,
time. So it's really nothing for me to like freshen up. But yeah, I will say that. I'm just staying authentic and true to myself. And because my content is that way and it's more conversational now and it's more introspective and it's purely my thoughts being reimagined into some content, like it doesn't really have to be sharpened.
okay. Um, what has been your most successful video, and why do you think it performed so well?
Oh my God. Okay, so my most successful video is I started a trend on TikTok that kind of flowed into Instagram, but I started a trend. It was the My Dating Journey trend. And it was pretty much a video of me like dancing and clapping to the song. I need to know the name of the song.
It was a church song?
It was a church song. We will praise him for the
Yeah.
rest. That song.
Yeah.
So I'm in my living room and I'm dancing to that song. And as I'm dancing to the song, like different scenarios of my dating experiences are popping up. And every time I think that I found the one and I sit down and I'm resting now, the song keeps going. And now I have to get up and I have to go and do another dating experience because that one didn't work out. And it's kind of just like, and so that was the the video. And why I think that that video did as well as it did is because it was relatable. Everybody has had their dating experiences, whether it be positive or negative. You've got to kiss some frogs here and there to find your person. And I think that's why it worked. It's because a lot of people saw themselves in that piece of content. They may not have had the same exact experiences, but they saw themselves in just having to go through the consistent cycle of dating and trying and dating and trying until they find their person.
Can you describe the moment and the feeling when you first went viral?
Oh my God. Yes, I can. It was the most magical day of my life. So it was that video that I just talked about. What happened? So I made the video, I made it at night. Oh, I'm sorry.
The church video.
The church video.
Okay. That's when that was
the most viral.
Oh,
like
okay,
before
okay.
that, okay.
Like the first video that cycled all over the internet.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because before that, I was reaching like hundreds of thousands of views before that. But in my mind, viral isn't viral until it's being posted on blogs.
Ooh,
it's like, you know what I'm saying?
okay, yeah,
That's when it's like, oh, we doing something right now. So once I saw that, I'm sorry, let me start over. When I saw that video was going viral in that way, because they're going viral in like the smaller way, like 10,000 views. That was actually a video that I posted with my sister of like, I don't know, me trying to hold her hand and she slapped my hand away. Like, and then that video got like a good amount of views, but like actually like super viral where it's getting reposted and stuff. I saw it. I saw the notifications coming in. I was in my bed at home by myself. I saw the notifications coming in. I was super, super, super excited. I'm like looking, I'm like, okay. Within an hour, we're at like 100,000 something views. I'm like, okay, we're doing something. And the notification just kept saying like 99 plus. Every time I would open the app, it was just like 99 plus. Like the app was like going crazy.
Yeah.
So after like an hour or two, it got to like 500,000 views. And then I go to sleep, wake up, we're hitting the millions now.
What?
I'm like, oh, Jesus, we on to something.
How do your phone look? It have a million notifications?
Yes.
God,
yes.
damn.
Like it was, I had to turn them off. It was insane. It was insane, but it also was like, I'm really big on gratitude. So in that moment, I was just like, thank you, God. Thank you.
Man.
Thank you, God. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It was amazing. It was the coolest experience ever. And I hope, and I still feel that way. Even now, when I get viral videos, I'm just like, oh, thank you, God. Because it's like, my whole goal with this is to have a platform to speak to the minds of other people, right?
Yeah.
So when I see that my content is going viral, it's like my content is touching the masses.
Here's a million people that's inspired.
Yes.
Yeah, damn, that's dope, man.
Thank you.
What are some things you think people should know before jumping into content creation?
Very good question. What's some things that people should know before jumping into content creation? I think that the big thing is Thank you. I think that the big thing is you have to understand what you're doing it for, have a purpose, let it be a passion behind it, because I'm explaining going viral and how amazing it is, but you also have to take into consideration that there's a lot of videos that didn't go viral. And I was just solely making content off of the pure love and desire of doing it. And I think that that's step one, is you have to do it because you genuinely love it. And you also have to prepare yourself for the negative feedback and the criticism, because just because you love doing something doesn't mean it's going to always be received well. And everyone has an opinion about everything. So you have to develop very, 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 very thick skin if you want to get into this space, because you're putting yourself essentially on a magnifying glass for the world to see and perceive. And anybody can perceive you in any way.
Yeah.
So I think that you just have to develop thick skin and be ready for what comes with being in a certain light And stay authentic to yourself.
Yeah.
Always and forever. Don't try to be like anybody else. Don't try to replicate what you've seen just because it worked for somebody else. That is, just because it worked for them doesn't mean it's going to work for you.
Yeah.
So just make sure that you stay authentic to yourself, and eventually it will.
Okay.
It'll all work out.
So I did some digging and I bumped into your YouTube page, and you got 2 quotes. And I'm gonna read one, and then it's gonna be the other one right after. Okay. So in this quote, you say, "You can experience heaven or hell on earth. Your mindset is the determining factor. Curate your reality." Can you describe what was going on in your life before you made that quote?
Before I made that quote, I don't want to take credit for that quote. I think that I made that quote, like I reworded it to be mine, but the quote originally comes from Eckhart Tolle or Tolle. I wish I could remember how to pronounce that man's name. It was in a book called Awaken to a New Earth. But where I was when I decided to put that up there, I was in a very, very like low space in life. I've always been a very optimistic, high energy person, always positive. And at this point in my life, when I put that quote in that about me section on YouTube, I was in a very low space. I was working a job I didn't like. I just got out of a very toxic relationship. I was living with my mom. My circumstances just weren't the best.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I had ever been in an experience like that before, where I felt super low and I didn't know what to do about it. So I was trying everything I possibly could to pull myself out of that space. So I started reading self-help books, and that's kind of how I came across the book that Eckhart Tolle wrote. And I saw that quote and it really resonated with me. It was something that I had never really like seen before, but when I read it, it immediately made sense to me. Like, I'm perceiving my reality as bad because things aren't exactly how I want them to be. But I also, on the flip side of that, I have a place to stay rent free. I have a job working remote, which is very ideal for me. I'm healthy. My child is healthy. My family, like, while I am living at my mom's house, it is giving me the opportunity to be close to her and spend time with her. So there were so many positives to look at in my situation that I wasn't perceiving because I wasn't focusing on them. So I think that when I came across that quote, it made me kind of flip a switch like, oh, wait, I'm actually okay. I'm doing fine. Just because things aren't working out how you want them to right now doesn't mean that they won't. And I started to just shift the focus on how I perceived my reality. And because I did that, everything in my reality started to change as well.
That quote actually resonated with me because I have this mindset where I tell myself when shit is going bad, as long as I'm alive, I have the ability to change my reality or the shit that's around me. So when I read it, I'm like, damn, this is pretty damn dope. And then I stumbled across another quote you put on here, and it says, "My purpose is to encourage a positive mindset and to inspire people to create the very best version of themselves. I am learning to push past fear and leading by example." What has fear? What was the biggest fear or fears you had when becoming a content creator?
Fear of rejection.
Fear of rejection.
I was terribly afraid of people seeing me trying and then failing.
Yeah.
So I think that was the biggest one for me, is just being afraid of like being judged. When you create content, especially the type of content that I'm creating where it's super vulnerable and personal, you can have this certain like thought that, oh, well, if I'm showing all this transparency, people are going to know the real me. They're going to see me. And then what if they don't like me? And then that fear of rejection is even scarier because I'm showing you the true me and you don't like me.
Yeah.
So that was my biggest fear, is the fear of rejection.
I had the same fear as far as like rejection and shit. And I read this book. It's funny because you mentioned the other guy's name who made that quote, but it's this guy named David J. Swartz. He made this book. He wrote this book called The Magic of Thinking Big. Before I read this book, I always had this mindset where I would doubt myself a lot before I even get into anything. It was always like self-doubt. And after reading this book, it literally changed my whole mindset and my life. And one of my friends recommended me to read this book, and like literally the first 5-10 pages, I'm reading this, and I'm like feel like I'm getting checked.
Ooh.
And one of the things I found out about myself is I do a lot of underestimating myself and overestimating like other people. So if I see somebody else like having success in whatever they doing, I would make excuses for it, like reason why they did this because blah 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 blah. And it's like nah, like they the same just like me. I could do the same damn thing. Only difference is they started. And my fear held me back from starting. And can you describe how fear has held you back from conquering any goals or just held you back in general for like generally from like life experiences?
Fear held me back from goals or life experiences. I'll say that fear has held me back as far as my journey for what I'm doing now, being a content creator. Like when I first started building a brand online, that was actually in 2018 on Instagram. I was posting pictures, but they were like heavily curated. I'm coming up with captions. I'm like tagging brands. I'm doing what I think is the right thing to do, right? But I say that fear held me back in that moment because I was still so afraid of showing me. I just was like following the whole Instagram baddie theme. So I'm gonna be cute, but you're not gonna get to see me because again, I don't want to be rejected by you guys. So I'm gonna post a cute picture and hope that you guys like it. And I'll say that it held me back because I just think that, man, if I would have just started like actually creating the content I am right now back then,
Yeah, man.
baby, listen,
Man.
yep, whole different way.
Step by step, can you explain or break down how you got rid of that fear?
How did I get rid of the fear of rejection? Doing it afraid. And I know that sounds like you're afraid. How are you going to do it anyways?
Yeah.
But that's literally what I did is I just kept going. Like when I would post those 35 videos a week, every time I'm posting those videos, I'm like, oh my God, what if somebody sees me? But I'm doing it anyways because at the end of the day, it made me feel good.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do what makes me feel good regardless. So I would say that's what helped me get over the fear is just consistently doing it even while I was afraid. And the more that I did it while I was afraid, the fear just became less and less.
Okay. In some of your videos, you talk about red flags and toxic relationships. You mentioned red flags a lot in a few of your videos. So my question is, do you think red flags are shown at the beginning of the getting to know you stage? And if so, why are red flags ignored?
Okay, are they shown in the beginning, getting to know you stage? Two parts, yes and no. I say yes, they are, because people can only put up a show for so long before you start to see like trickles of who they really are. But then I say no to that also because depending on the person, well, let me start over. I say that dating is like an interview, right? So typically in an interview, you want to show your best self, right? So when you're dating this person, they're giving you 100% quality individual. So it's really easy to not notice quote unquote red flags because they're not showing you red flags. It's only after the feelings are involved and the emotions are there that now these little red flags or trickles of who they really are start to show out. So I think it's both. I think that yes, they can sometimes be seen in the beginning, but also no, depending on the individual. And what was the second part to that question?
Why are they ignored?
Why are they ignored? Oh my God. There's a multitude of reasons why they're ignored, and I can't speak to them all, but I'll say that they're probably ignored because let me think why I ignored them. Amen. Yep. I think that they were ignored because I see the world through rose-colored glasses, and I always see the best in people. So even if someone was
You're like overly deep. Rose-colored glasses?
yeah,
I've never heard that before in my life. But go ahead.
I'm sorry, but you get what I'm saying, though.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I see the world through rose-colored glasses, so I always see the best in people, even when they show a side to them that may not be extremely favorable. I'm like, oh, there's a reason for that. It must be their trauma. Like
Yeah.
it's their trauma doing this. So I always kind of would excuse away the red flags, or I would, you know what? And that's a good. I'm sorry. Now I'm having a revelation because that just lets me that something just spoke to me and said like,
Speak on it.
it's not my job to like. Don't make excuses for other people, pretty much. And
Yeah.
I would do that a lot, as I would make excuses. So it's easy to ignore them because you want to see the best in people, or you don't want to believe that this person is really like a bad person because they're so good all the time. They just have this one little thing, and that one little thing might not be so bad. I can get over, they can get over it, or I can help them get over it. Or so that's what I would say is that's why it's easy to kind of overlook red flags sometimes, is because you kind of just don't want them to be there in the first place.
Are you trying? So it sounds like at one point you see the potential in people,
babes,
and
yes.
you kind of make them become the person that you want them to be, but
I
in
tried.
reality, you tried.
I tried, but I can't make no. You was about to say it, but in reality,
that's not them. Yeah,
babes,
Yeah.
you can't change nobody. The only person that can change people is them, and they have to deeply want to change for themselves. They can't want to change for you, because then they'll try, but then ultimately people are going to be who they are. So it's like you have to have a deep-rooted conviction to want to change for yourself. And I know that, speaking from experience. I wasn't always like super positive and optimistic and high energy. So it's, oh, yay, my nails looking so good. You know your thing, girl. But yeah, no, it's just you can't change folks, and I've realized that over time.
Yeah. So if you was a teacher and you was teaching a class course on how to spot red flags, what would you tell your students?
Use your discernment. Lean into your discernment always. It exists for a reason. Go with your gut feeling, but don't confuse your gut with trauma. And be able to distinguish between the two. Communicate with your partner. A lot of times what we try to label as a red flag isn't necessarily a red flag. It's just they're doing something that you don't like or don't agree with, but that's not necessarily a red flag. Anything that causes you like mental or emotional harm or physical harm is a red flag. But if somebody just simply like takes a little longer than usual to wash the dishes, babe, that's not a red flag. Stop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that just communicate with your partner, let them know what your standards are, which is my third point, is have a base level of standards that you set for yourself. And if somebody continuously tiptoes beyond that line, then you have to love yourself enough to be able to say, okay, as much as I love you and want to be with you, I love myself a little bit more. So I'm going to go over here and do this by myself, and I'm going to give you time and space to figure that out for you because you're hurting me and I don't want to be hurt by you anymore.
That's a good answer. Have you ever dated a dude that asked you, what do you bring to the table?
No.
Have you heard of that term before?
I have, which is insane. I don't think anybody should be asking anybody.
At one point, I'm not gonna lie. At one point, that used to be a reasonable question, but I've started to find out on social media a lot of dudes who ask this question, whether it's on a podcast, some type of show, or whatever, that these are some hurt ass niggas, and it's just to the point where I'm annoyed, and it's like a lot of these dudes sound like punks, and it's like my whole ideology of that is I am trying to put myself in a position where I brought the whole fucking table, so all you need to do is bring a goddamn chair. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of these dudes, it's like if your plan is to be on top, it doesn't really matter what this girl really brings to the table, as long as she's like a down to earth person, funny. That shit matters to me. Like I'm not dating any girl that can't crack a joke. That's ridiculous.
Amen.
Just like I don't know, just an overall good human being. Like if you can't spot a girl that wants you for your money, then I'm sorry, bro. You gotta live life a little bit because it's not that hard. It's really not that hard,
especially
bro.
not in Atlanta.
Like,
Amen.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like if she don't call and ask you how was your day, or even in the getting to know you stage where it's like, what are your goals? If she don't ask you questions about your family, like, bro, she pretty much probably don't give a fuck about you. She's here for the bread. So I want to piggyback off that and ask, like, how do you spot like hurt men?
Oh, Jesus.
Or unhealed.
Unhealed. Yeah, let's use unhealed. Unhealed.
Yeah, let's do that.
Unhealed men. I want to say unhealed people just because it goes both ways.
Yeah.
Men, women, whoever. Anybody can be dealing with trauma and they're not healing from it. But how do you spot that? Pay attention to the conversation. A lot of times people will tell on themselves within the conversation that you're having. Like if you give people enough space and room to talk about themselves, they will tell you everything you need to know about them.
Yeah.
So I'll say pay attention to the conversation. See what they keep revisiting over and over and over again, and also how they position things. Like if it's always someone else's fault, if they keep bringing up
accountability.
yeah, come on now. Yeah, so it's like just pay attention to the conversation. That's my biggest thing, and their actions as well. Like, I've noticed that unhealed people tend to self-sabotage, and I know that because I used to do the same thing. But unhealed people tend to self-sabotage no matter how kind you are, no matter how giving and graceful and patient you are with them. There's always fault finding in something that you do. And I think that a lot of times unhealed people do that because they don't feel worthy of being with someone that is as amazing as you, or they're so unhealed and hurt in their trauma that when they do come across someone who is extremely well and kind and loving to them and compassionate to them, that it's almost unbelievable that you exist. So I'm going to self-sabotage this situation because ain't no way in the world you are who you say you are.
Yeah.
That's what I'd say. Just pay attention.
What's the future for Reya? What do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years? Because I don't want to say 10 because that's so long.
Wait a minute now.
But would it be like acting, beauty model, spiritual coach? Where do you see yourself?
All of the above. I definitely see me doing what I'm doing right now, but to a much, much, much grander level. Like really heavily leaning into spiritual coaching. I'm starting out. I'm just now starting out, so I still got to figure out like what that looks like. How do you even do it? Like what qualifies me as a spiritual coach, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that ultimately I want to do everything. I want to do all of what you said. I want to act, I want to model, I want to help people just live their best lives, honestly, and create their reality. So in any way that I can do that, I just pray that God provides the platform for me to do it. And that's my prayer always. Well, I probably shouldn't share my prayers. Those are personal, but
I keep my prayers.
yeah, I'm gonna keep it personal, but me and God talk a lot. And I ask God to allow what's in my heart to be fully pushed out onto the world and into the minds of other people. Okay. So we'll see where I am in 3 to 5 years. I'm probably gonna rewatch this in 3 to 5 years and be like, "Ooh, girl, you did it."
I'm pretty sure you inspire somebody after this conversation.
Dope. That'd be dope.
I feel it.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the questions I have for today. I'm gonna let you get your nails finished by my homegirl Khalesia. When y'all see this video and y'all check out Reya Nails, hit up KhalesiaClaws.me.us.